my whole life. And I just wanted to have a business where I can include dancing in it. So we're the premier flash mob company for the Las Vegas Valley, and we do corporate events. We've done trade shows, conferences. We do a lot of marriage proposals and special events. So what I want to talk about today is I'm introducing a new book, and let me see if I can do this. This is my first time doing screen share, and I don't see a button to do that. Let me see here.
It's green at the bottom. It's bright
green.
I
see, share screen. That's pretty obvious. So I just want to show you, I'm going to go into my files and let me see here. Files. It just says Google Drive, Box, Microsoft OneDrive. Okay, never mind. I am not going to do that. So I wanted to share the cover of my book, but you will see it on the flyer.
I can do that for you if you.
I'm sorry?
I can do that for you if you want me to.
Oh, that would be great. I just couldn't find to get my computer files. So the name of my book is Wham Bam Facebook Events. And I have been doing Facebook events pretty much since I started my flash mob business. And one of the reasons I wanted to start writing about this is I think it's really important during this time for people to start switching how they do their business. So before the quarantine, even though I had been doing Facebook events, I was doing most of my events, and I'm talking about events not only for Flash Mob Las Vegas, but I'm also in a direct sales company. I'm with Tastefully Simple. So most of my events were done, people hosted parties, or I had parties, or I did a lot of vendor events and business networking. So that all stopped. And I realized that I had to start focusing on marketing my business online. So someone introduced me to another event called the World Prosperity Summit. And I found out about someone, I don't know if anybody here knows Raymond Aaron, but he is one of the authors of, those, for example, he wrote Canadian Chicken Soup for the Canadian Soul and different chicken soup books. And he has a whole program to help you write a book. So I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm at home during quarantine. I love Facebook and Facebook events, so why don't I write a book? So it's just something that came about since the quarantine. Oh, there it is. Thank you.
I've been working on it.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, good. Thanks. So that is the cover of my book. And in this program, they do the cover for you. And I wanted kind of a comic book look. So I was very happy with that. So if you had asked me, I guess, when did this start? Like the middle of March. So if you had asked me the beginning of March if I was going to write a book, I would say, what are you talking about? So it's something that just came up recently, and it's just really inspiring how, even though this is a devastating event in all of our lives, that we can also take this and create new opportunities. So again, I wanted to expand doing Facebook events. So I want to just talk a little bit about my history with Facebook events. So actually, I can see you all. So if everybody, can you raise your hand if you've ever done a Facebook event? Okay, I see Stan and Dr. Victoria raising their hand. I'm sure Kathy has, but I can't see her right now. Anyway, I originally started with Flash Mob Las Vegas. So I opened Flash Mob Las Vegas in 2011. And one of the first things I did was to set up a page for Flash Mob Las Vegas. And just here's the page if you want to look it up, Flash Mob Las Vegas. So you're welcome to like my page. So once I set up the page, I started using events. I wasn't really using them to sell things. I was using them to recruit volunteer participants. So when I do flash mobs, I basically have two different types of events I do. I have corporate events and then more personal events such as weddings and birthdays. And for the special occasions that are for private people, the people that come and dance are usually volunteers. So I started using Facebook events to recruit participants for events. So what I was doing was using the Facebook event to announce another event. And that's just one really great way to use Facebook events. So what I would do is I would share the Facebook event on my profile, on my page. I'd share it also in other groups that are appropriate in Las Vegas. You know, there are a lot of different groups about events in Las Vegas. Excuse me a second, my throat's getting dry. And so the participants would be directed to, I have an app I use called Sign Up Genius, and I would direct them to that program or app to sign up. And then from there, I was able to put them on my mailing list. So I found that having Facebook events to announce other events is also a great way to build up your email list, which is gold. And anyone knows in any type of business to have a good following for emails is just really worth its weight in gold. So then let me see, it was in 2014, I joined a direct sales company called Sell It On Road, and they sold organic skincare and house cleaning. And when I was with Sell It On Road, that was my first experience using Facebook for what we call Facebook parties. So what it was, well, a lot of direct sales companies are what we call party plan companies. So they have a plan where people can host a party and they get special rewards such as free products and half price products and special gifts and free shipping depending on the volume of sales at their parties. And with Sell It On Road and also with Tastefully Simple, my biggest earnings come from parties. So what you want to do in a Facebook party is to duplicate the experience of people doing an in-home party. So I first started doing them with Sell It On Road, and the results were kind of mediocre. I mean, I might have like a couple of $100 party, but it wasn't fantastic. And I found that obviously doing in-person parties was better, but there were also people that were out of town that might want to host a party. So, but the way it's set up is, you know, again, you want to follow a similar format of welcoming people, sharing about your products, having some fun and games, and giving people a chance to order. So again, as I said, my first party results were sort of mediocre. And then when I left that company basically because they went out of direct sales. So I decided to go with Tastefully Simple because I had already been using their products for my in-home parties with the other business. So even with Tastefully Simple though, my results were okay. I would have $200 or $300 parties on Facebook, but they weren't fantastic. But, you know, again, it was an opportunity either for people that were out of town or people that did not want to host at home for whatever reason. So then came along COVID-19, and all the in-person events that I marketed my business through, whether it was home parties or I would also host my own parties at my home. And then I also did a lot of small vendor events at my house. That was all done. All the vendor events I did was done. All the business networking I did was done. So I thought, okay, I need to learn more about online marketing. So fortunately, the CEO of Tastefully Simple, her name is Jill Blashak, and she's a wonderful person. And she sponsored a free course. Now, Tastefully Simple paid for this course because if I was going to do it myself, I would have to pay for it. And they comped us a course in Facebook events and Facebook parties. So I learned a lot about this course, about what I was doing wrong. So I was doing my parties as if they were infomercials. So I was posting a lot of salesy posts and a lot of graphics from the company. And I learned that I had to have a different approach. So I'm going to give these to you as tips for Facebook parties. So first of all, you want to draw out whoever's hosting the party. So there are a variety of ways to do that. Like, for example, through including them in your graphics, posting photos of them, asking guests how they know them. And you also want to get to know your guests. So here's the thing, as in any sales, you have to know who your audience is. So one of the best ways to get to know that is through whoever's hosting your event. So it's important to know their age group, where they live, do they have kids, what their concerns are, do they live in the city, do they live in the country, and I think I mentioned their age group. Because, for example, I sell food products. So someone who, their concerns are going to be different if it's a young mother at home with kids than someone who's a senior. So anyway, I don't want to just keep talking without asking for interaction. So I'm going to go on with this theme, but I just want to ask, up until now, does anybody have any questions about anything I've talked about? You can just unmute yourself and say it.
Well, I have some I'll throw a question out there.
Sure.
Using the Facebook, you said events, not just live streaming. Yours
Right.
were, so there's two. I'm not big on Facebook. I need to become more proficient. So what is the difference between events and a Facebook Live, or is there?
Well, that is a wonderful question. And I'm probably going to answer it in a longer roundabout way. So first of all, I want to just briefly touch on the structure of Facebook. So on Facebook, you have your profile, which is your, people call it their page, but it's really your personal profile. You have your page, which is your business page. There are groups, and there's Messenger, and then there are Facebook events. So a Facebook event, well, you scheduled an event for this on Facebook, or maybe someone else did for you.
No, I didn't.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
A live is a video.
Okay.
So you can do a live anywhere on Facebook. You can do it from your profile, from your page, from a group, from an event. So for example, you can go into now every event has certain components. So they have a banner, it has a banner at the top.
Yep.
And then underneath, you'll see the basic information and description of the event. And then underneath that, you'll see where you'll see the guests and people have an opportunity to RSVP.
Yeah.
And
I don't know why I was merging those two together
right.
in my mind. I've been using events forever. I mean,
yes.
I had never thought.
Well, you just did an event. So, and then also there's a description, but then the event has its own timeline.
Right.
So in the timeline of the event, you can actually do a live video. And I do those a lot in my parties.
Okay.
And I also want to mention before I go on, parties are not just for people in direct sales. So I'm using that as an example because that's how I use them, but you could use them for other types of businesses, whether you have an event planning business, a brick and mortar business, and you can even use it for fundraisers. And I'm going to get into an example of that in a bit. But I'm going to go on with some of the things I learned. Oh, does anybody else have any questions or comments? All right. So
David rose his hand.
So anyway, I kind of mentioned
yeah.
it.
David wrote. He put up his hand. David.
Oh, okay, David. Yes. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Yeah. So you're talking about direct sales parties. Now, in my experience, not that I've ever done one like that, but in my experience, you need to have like hands-on with the product. So how does that, or are you just showing, like, let's say it was a Tupperware party.
Right.
You would like hold up the pots and demonstrate like all the containers and just demonstrate how they work. You're not like,
Yeah.
obviously you can't touch them and hold your
Right.
products in your hand.
Well, and that's a good point because especially with food, that's a big deal.
Right.
And so there's a variety of ways that I make the experience of, and I'm going to, talk about Tupperware and food. And I've had a lot of co-hosted parties with Tupperware because their products go really good with mine. But with Tupperware, you can do a demo. I know they have different types of mixers, so you could do a live demo as to how this mixer works or how this gadget works, or and then I always suggest to people to make their photos on their events really personal. So rather than just going to the Tupperware site or back office and getting their graphics, show photos of what your pantry looks like now that it's organized with Tupperware products.
That's really good. I'm glad you're going to talk about food because one of the many things I do is direct sales as well, and my company is coffee. So
Oh,
like
perfect.
an online party, it's not like I can pour coffee into my laptop. That's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, it is. But you can, so a lot of that you could do in live. I've done a lot of cooking demos. And one of the things I do is I want to do some that are live because it's more real and personal. And then as you're doing the live, you can see who's commenting and you could say hi or interact with them right there. But I've even done lives where I invite people to a happy hour and I tell them to bring their drinks and food. And while I'm doing the happy hour, I'm eating and talking about what I'm eating. So, they're product demos, they're doing lives, they're doing photos, where they're a little more personal. And then you have to be descriptive. So when I describe my food, I have to use words that, it like entice people.
Yes. You have to
For
touch
example,
them
I just
emotionally.
baked this beer bread and my house smells like this wonderful loaf of bread. And I'm tasting this dip and it just has notes of this and that. So you have to learn how to use your words to bring images into people's minds.
Bacon pepper jam.
Oh, yes, thank you. I have my bacon pepper jam fan club here. I still owe
That's
you a
right.
commission.
That's right. You got two of the main members right here, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to go on now, and that was an excellent question from both. Those were excellent questions from both of you. So one of the most important things in your event, whether you're in direct sales or not, is getting to know your guests and what makes them tick. Because I'm going to be really honest here, people don't care about you. They don't want to hear about, they want to know who you are. So, people do business with who they know, like, and trust, but they want to hear about themselves and they want to have their problems their problems solved. So what you want to do is try to find out what their concerns are and solve them. So obviously one way to do that is to ask the hostess, what do you hear from your friends about their cooking dilemmas? What do they complain about? But if you don't have a hostess, if you're doing your own party, you do that in the event by asking direct questions. And you can even have a post that says, what are your top kitchen concerns? Or, what are your top food storage concerns? Or I know some of you, may be in a health related business, like, what's your biggest health concern? Or, what time of the day do you feel less energy? Things like that. So you really want to get to know your guests. And, this is particular to direct sales companies that have a host rewards program like Tastefully Simple does, but you want to focus on what's in it for the hostess. So if someone else is hosting your party, if they're motivated, you're going to have a great party. If they're not, you're not. So you want to focus on what's in it for them. And also one way to have a big way to have a very successful event, again, it doesn't matter what business you're in, is to get your guests active. So one way I do that is by asking a lot of questions, and then also making it fun and entertaining. So one of the ways to get people active is to have a drawing either during or after your event, and throughout the event awarding points. You know, for example, if you answer this question, or you know, make a comment below for 3 points, or post a photo of such and such for 2 points each, or you know, different things where people are motivated. And you could do it on a point system, or you know, a drawing ticket system. And you can also have games and contests. I personally am not big on games, but you know, there are a lot of fun games. You can do word completion games.
How about Jeopardy?
Jeopardy is perfect. So that's going to be fun. And you'll see some of my Jeopardy questions. And also doing contests, like you could do things that create some urgency, such as one post is asking them, I'll give this an example because it has to do with food. Post a photo of, you know, I did an event recently that was a barbecue theme. So post a photo of your barbecue in comments, and the last one to post before I say stop wins a certain amount of points. Now, another important thing is it doesn't do you a lot of good to have someone come to a party or come to an event or come to your store, buy once, and then go away and you never see them again. So you want to find ways to keep in touch with your guests. And one way is during the event to ask them to like your page and your profile, or, you know, I mean, send you a friend request. So you want to stimulate that. And also it's important to keep in touch with them after the event, you know, especially if they've ordered. So don't just like, okay, they've bought from me and then drop them. You have to keep nurturing that relationship. So after I did this event that Tastefully Simple treated us to, my first party was hosted by someone else, and I did it totally different. It was no longer an infomercial. And of course I want to go back and say that you want to do fun and games, but you want to, of course, intersperse salesy type posts, but you don't want the salesy post to be every one. And there are also ways within the games and different types of posts that stimulate interaction of introducing your products without being blatant. So one of the ways I do it is I I'll take and I'll tell you how to do this too, but I take a picture of my hostess and I ask my hostess what her favorite product is, of, you know, if she's familiar with my product line. And let's say she says, of course, we know that bacon pepper jam. So I'll post a photo of her with 5 different products. And then I'll say, you know, for 10 points, or no, the first person to guess her favorite product or his favorite product wins such and such, or gets so many points. But then they're seeing the photos of my products, or I'll do a this and or that, you know. We have a couple of Mexican flavored items. So I'll say, you know, you're stranded on a beach at a Mexican resort. Would you rather have, and then I'll go this or that. It's salsa or guacamole, or it could be, you know, we have a margarita mix. It could be a margarita or a Long Island cocktail, which we have that mix too. So then they choose, and then I go choose this or that for 2 points each. So they're seeing a variety of products. So there are ways to make seeing your products fun. Any questions about what I've said so far? I see a message here. Let me see here. Is someone sending me a message?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have about 6 minutes. Thank you, Stan. I was wondering how I was even going to go on for 15 minutes, but I seem to be doing okay with that.
Okay. And I won't, I mean, if you are done and want to finish early, that I understand. I gave you a whole lot of time before. I'm just going with the flow. And I know I have a,
I am too, and I'm so happy Gypsy has not barked yet. She always seems to bark, and she has a really loud bark. And she always seems to do it when I'm on a Zoom call and I can't mute myself. So thank you, Gypsy. Um, any other questions or comments?
well, I just know that I hadn't even thought about it. I mean, I've been scheduling events for years, and
Yes.
I know they just added the button that when you create them, do you want to make this a live, an online event? And I hadn't paid much attention to that tab, but I
Oh.
think I will actually start doing more of the online events. This is really me jumping into the ocean. I'm not dipping my toe in the water.
Right.
I jumped in the ocean today to do an 8-hour event, but I said, go big, go home. You just go big or go home. But
Good
it's
for
laying
you.
the foundation of all the things that you talked about, different ways to connect, engage, emotionally touch people through a virtual setting. And it takes unique, different types of strategies to do that. And I'm glad you gave us so many tips on all of those different things. Make sure that you put your contact information in the chat room.
Oh, I will, and I do have some more things to say if you guys
Okay,
are
I'm
okay
sorry.
with that.
Yep, go ahead. You got it. And I'm sorry, I took a.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just thought you sounded like I was done, and I
Oh,
just.
no. I was throwing it back to you.
Oh, okay. I appreciate it. No
You got
problem. So, anyway, I want to just talk about the posts themselves. So, regarding the graphics, again, let's say I'm with Tupperware. I don't want to just take, posts from the Tupperware company. You want to make it more personal. So people want to see what's in your kitchen, what you're eating, what you just pulled out of the refrigerator in this Tupperware dish and how fresh the salad is. And, they want to see something more personal, but also encourage your host and your guests to share photos too. Also, and one tool I use for doing, if I'm doing custom graphics, it's super easy to use, is Canva. So I wanted to suggest that because it's so easy. Also, you can do lives in your event. And normally what I do is when I first start my event, I usually do a live at the beginning just to introduce myself and what the event's going to be about and my products. And then I usually do one at the beginning of the party itself. So let me just mention the structure, because when you do a Facebook party, again, there are different ways to use Facebook events. So for example, Dr. Victoria used a Facebook event to announce this event. But then the Facebook event can also be its own event, such as a party. So the party is at a specific date and time. So let's say I'm having the party next Saturday at 5, but I don't open up the event right before the party. I open up at least a couple of days to a week in advance and start posting things leading up to it. So I usually, the days further out, I usually post once a day. And then getting closer, I might post a couple of times a day. So you can also do, live demos during that time. You don't want to sell too much before then, because then people are going to think they don't have to show up to the party itself. But you can use that as an opportunity to have fun with the hostess, to get to know your guests, and maybe throw in a live demo. But then at the party itself, I usually start with a live, and I'm going to give you an example. Recently, now one of the things you can do with events is you can give them a theme. So I had 2 events recently. One was kind of a fiesta happy hour theme on a Friday night at 5 o'clock. And then the next week I had one called Far Out Fridays. And it was the next Friday at 6. And that was also a happy hour. So what I did is I started with a live, and I even included, you'll love this, Dr. Victoria, I even included dancing and music in the live. So with the fiesta one, in the pre-party, I actually taught a salsa class because I'm a Latin dancer. So I taught people some basic salsa steps, and I said, we're going to be dancing at the party. And then during the party itself, I started the party with a salsa music, and I started dancing at the beginning of the party. And then I went into eating and entertaining people. And, but what I did is during that live, I also had different things they could do for points. And one of them was post a photo of yourself dancing or a video, and it doesn't have to be salsa.
Okay.
So it could be an old picture of dancing for a certain amount of points. And also something I want to suggest is setting up a YouTube channel, because if you do demo videos, you might not want to just use them for just one party. So I suggest for whatever business you're in, set up your own YouTube channel, and you can do videos that you can save and use later.
And you have 1 more minute.
Okay, great. So I want to talk about other ways to use Facebook events. And you can use them to announce other events as an invite, as Dr. Victoria did with this event. You can also use them for other types of businesses besides direct sales, which includes brick and mortar businesses. So you can announce your opening or a new product coming in, and you can do videos in your store and demo videos and makeup demos and whatever relates to your business. But you can also do them for fundraisers. So I'm going to give an example of how you could use it for a pet rescue fundraiser. You can show pets that need adoptions and help with medical bills. You can have posts that show pet rescue success stories. You can do raffles and drawings. And also if you have merchandise related to your rescue, like t-shirts, you can sell them through the event. So I want to also mention some great tools to use.
Wrapping it up.
Okay, I'm just going to name these off: SynShare, Canva, Photoshop, Google Docs, YouTube, random.org for doing drawings, and there's one on your phone called Layout. And also you need to follow up with your guests, and Kathy will be, I'm done with this sentence. Kathy will be talking at 4:30 about send out cards, and that's a great way to keep in touch with your guests. That's it, I'm done.
Okay, and thank you so much. Here's how we do our applause. But I'm going to thank you so much. I'm ending your recording, and you'll get a copy of this.
Oh, great, perfect.